Hey guys, we're doing a quick Q&A session. Thank you for everyone who took time to send out questions. Let's go through a few of these here and see how it goes. So Owen asks, can I use rainwater for drinking or is it only for watering my garden? So you absolutely can use rainwater for drinking if it is harvested and stored correctly. So if when you're harvesting off your roof, you have a decently clean roof and it harvests and it goes off of a deflector to keep all the debris, all the organic material out of your tank, and then it goes into your tank, which is not treated with any chemicals, and then your outlet for the water comes out is at least 4 inches off of the bottom. The bottom of the outlet, you need to leave undisturbed water there so that it can build a biofilm, and this is actually going to treat your water. It's going to take a lot of the stuff out of the water, and then the stuff that is left at this point, if you run it through a water pump, that change in pressure is enough to kill off what's left. So if there's more to it, but if it is done correctly, it is safer than my town's drinking water for sure. But if you are just having water coming into a barrel that sits outside and there's no real considerations, you're just scooping it out of there, I would be a little more hesitant to drink that portion. And then we've got, so Aaron asks, this is a longer question. Last year's drought was extremely hard on my plants. I watered and watered, and I'm worried that a lot of the things I planted, like the hazelnut trees I bought at your fundraiser, thank you, Aaron, for buying them at the fundraiser and supporting the installation of that community orchard, that they're not going to wake up in the spring. Is there anything I can do to help them come back? When do I know just to give up and try again? So for example, if they haven't started producing buds by a certain time, then you have to dig them up and compost your beautiful project. Any tips and tricks are appreciated. Also, any tips for dealing with drought would be helpful in case we have another year of this. I considered setting up shade. I tried mulching, but I find that the weeds loved the mulch. So I'm going to try landscaping fabric under my mulch this year, but I know you have the answer. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the questions. So last year's drought was wild and very intense. And so for knowing when to give up on them, one of the things you can do is that you can go out and if you take a look at the branch and you just try and snap the end of the branch off. If it's dry and brittle, then it's dead to that point, and you can kind of keep on breaking down until you get to ground level. And if it's dry and crispy all the way to the ground level, it's probably dead, but sometimes there's a little bit of life still in the roots and it might shoot up. So I would, depending on where it is, if it's in front of the house in a prominent spot where you want to have something planted right away, then if I don't see buds coming to life in the spring, then I would get rid of it at that point. If you scratch the bark and you can see that there's some green under there, there's some life, then you're still okay. But yeah, sometimes, for example, I have a pawpaw tree that it went into winter. I thought it was dead last winter, and this spring I thought it was dead, and then about in the middle of summer it finally shot up and grew. So if it's in a spot where you can leave it, then leave it. But if it is dead or you think it's dead and you need the spot, then dig it up. When you dig it up, take a look. See if the roots look like they're alive or not. See if there's any life there, and if there is, I know that you have space, so you could plant it somewhere else or pop it back in there. But yeah, in general, the hazelnuts already have their buds on them. So mine in my front yard here have catkins and they have leaf buds that should be there already. So if you're not seeing them on those specifically, then they may have been rough on them. Let's see. Any tips for dealing with the drought would be helpful in case we have another year of this. I hope we don't have another year that intense. Generally, my tips for drought resilience on bigger properties like yours include water catchment and slowing any water that we do get down and letting it sink into the land. But the last year there just wasn't rain. There wasn't any rain to catch and collect, in which case you have to be watering. Shade is good. That can be just in the form of bushes and other plants on the bottom. Anything that stops the sun from cooking the soil will slow the evaporation. So basically what you're looking to do is you're looking to make sure enough water goes into the soil and that little enough of it evaporates out of it. Mulch, living mulches like other plants are great for that. For the mulch, a lot of people will put on a little layer of mulch like this, which can be enough to help with drought, but it will not help with the weeds. With the weeds, you're wanting a foot almost, 8, 10 plus inches. If you stick your hand this way, it should be at least that deep. And generally, people think that they've put on close to twice as much as they have. Most of the time, a lot of time people will talk about they put 8 inches on, and they go and there's 3 or 4 at tops. The landscape fabric I'm not fond of because it's a plastic in the ground, and I've been digging up here, and what tends to happen is people put the landscape fabric down and then they'll put their mulch on top of it, and the mulch breaks down and turns into soil, and then the weeds can start in that. And then as that goes on, then this is all weeds. They put another layer of landscape fabric and then more mulch, and then another one, and it just builds up. And at some point down the road, someone gets stuck trying to pull up all of these layers after layers after layers of landscape fabric. Heavier mulching and plant more heavily around the base of your plants if you can. That can make a really big difference. So hopefully that works well for you. I think I got all your questions in there. And then Clara asks, how do I grow fruit trees without any chemicals? So first off, start by picking disease-resistant trees. I had a number of people ask variations on this question. And by picking trees that are resistant to disease, you don't have to spray the chemicals to fight off the disease and the pests as much. So that's a really big one. And then the next part is to build an ecosystem. So add some bushes, add some flowers, add some herbs, add some bird houses, and what you're going to end up with is this ecosystem where some of the plants are distracting or deterring the pests. Some of them are attracting the insects and the birds that will eat the pests, and then some of them are adding nutrients into your soil. They're actually fertilizing for you, so you don't have to do that. And by creating this little ecosystem, you can create something that needs way less inputs, but it still is dependent on making sure you get those disease-resistant trees at the beginning. So hopefully that one helps you. Quinn asks, what's your best advice for someone who is just starting out growing their own food? And congratulations on starting growing your own food, Quinn. My best advice is to grow things that you eat. A lot of people will look at what other people grow. And I'm going to grow tomatoes and potatoes and peas and beans and maybe even apples if they want a fruit tree. But if you don't eat any of those things, you may as well not have grown it. So instead of just picking what other people grow, take a look, see what you grow, if you have kids, see what they grow. If you don't eat apples, maybe you try plums, or Asian pears are great and they store forever. So try growing what you will actually eat. It's absolutely the biggest tip that I have. And then, how do I start an orchard on a small budget? I get questions like this a lot. My design services aren't for everyone. It costs more money than if you were just to stick things in the ground. You're going to get better success, but it's going to cost more money. So if having something, when you're doing something on a really tight budget, now that word is different for different people. That could mean that you have $100, or it could mean $1,000, or your small budget might be, we have a small budget of $20,000. That means a lot of different things to different people. I'll be speaking on this in Cornwall quite shortly, in about a week or so. So if you're wanting a few trees in your backyard, you can order bare root trees, and if you were to order them around this time of year, you can get them for $50 or $60 if you're willing to do the orchard grade trees, which is just maybe a branch is broken off or it's bent in a weird way. It's not as pretty. You can get them for $40, $50, and that will save a lot of money. And then you can buy a few bushes to go along with it, create that ecosystem. And when you're doing that, instead of buying a whole bunch of one type of bush, buy a few different types, because bushes, this does not apply to the fruit trees. This does not apply to the fruit trees, because if you plant a fruit tree deep, it can kill the tree. But for the bushes, if it has a bunch of different stems and you plant it deep, so each of the stems is under the ground by a bit, what will happen is that each of those will grow roots. And then next year you can dig it up and you can cut those apart, and you'll have 5, 10, 20 different plants. And that will allow you to really grow your orchard on a small budget. If you're on an extremely tight budget, learn to graft. Buy some rootstock for $7 to $12 each, and then either buy the scion wood, the top part that you graft on that decides what type of fruit it is, or find somebody who has a fruit tree that you like, that does really well and is compatible with that rootstock. Don't try and stick a plum on an apple rootstock. It has to be apple to apple. And then take a little bit of the fresh growth and graft it on there. And you could set up a 10-tree orchard for $150. And you might do 10-tree orchard plus a bunch of bushes, 100 plus bushes for under $150, and say 2 years or so. We have Grace is asking, when is your next book coming out, and what will it be about? I have a few books in the works. I'm hoping to release 1.5 of them this spring. So one is going to be a bit of a soft pre-release because I don't have all the pictures for it yet, and it is a plant selection guide for edible landscapes in cold climates. So helping you pick what plants to put where. And this is also something that's going to be going with my mini design package that I'm coming out with. It's a less comprehensive design package for people who don't have the money for the full design package. It's a stripped down version, and then it'll include a few different pictures, and anything that is this picture, you look in the book and you can pick from that list of plants, and there's information about them. A bit of a reference book. And then book 2 is a guidebook for churches who want to use orchards as a ministry tool. So this is a lot of where my passion is. It's feeding the hungry and ideally partnering with churches to do that. And I'm currently separating Eden's Refuge and Eden's Orchard. So Eden's Refuge will continue being the business as it is with the regular design services and consultations, but Eden's Orchard will be targeting the mission of feeding the hungry, so partnering with churches and mentoring them. And that's where this book is coming in. It will teach the churches that have a small budget, or that just they want to get a few trees in the ground because they know that can mean a couple £1,000 of food a year that they can give away. And this will walk them through pretty much my first book of all the clarifying your values, but modified to the church setting, and setting your goals and your vision, and then how to design the orchard. And then it will move on to how to install it, how to maintain it, and how to use it as a ministry tool, both in the orchard and whether it's in the kitchen or wherever else that applies. There are a bunch of great examples in there. And so this is a book that is really launching and pushing this forward. this mission forward. And then last one for today, what is the first thing you would look up when buying land? So when buying land, first thing I would look up is where it is. If it's in the Yukon, I'm not interested. That's too far north. I can't grow all the things that I want to grow. Next thing I would look up is the topography. So you can look up topographic maps online. You can get them for free with reasonable accuracy in a lot of places. And what you're going to find is a lot of listings will say that the land is high and dry, but when you look at it, you can see that all the neighbors' land slopes towards it, and it might be dry in the middle of summer, or last year when everything was outrageously dry, but in the spring it might be flooded. And then what I would do is I would probably drive by, and I would take a look and see, does what's growing here look like things that grow on dry enough land, or does it look like stuff that's growing in something that is wet for a lot of the year? And I would look and see what trees are growing. If it's a lot of cedars, then it's probably more towards acidic land. Is it a bunch of maples? Because maples are a great indicator that you'll be able to grow an orchard well. And then if I can, I would get permission to dig just a small diameter, but 4-foot deep hole, walk around, see the rest of the property, then come back and take a look and see if there's water in the hole. Because if there is water in the hole, it's going to be a bit trickier, that you're not going to be able to grow all of the fruits that I would want to grow because that water table is too high. But a lot of it depends on what you want to use the land for. If you're not looking at growing fruit trees, then you might value having good fences in place, or having outbuildings already in place. I want nice long slopes and hills so that I can do rainwater harvesting and earthworks on a large scale, because that's fun to me, and that helps build my long-term property resilience. So hope these questions helped, and I'm hoping the audio is good on this one. It's my second time recording it. It took me 5 minutes longer to answer this time. But keep sending the questions. You can send them to jd@edensrefuge.ca, or send a Facebook message or Instagram message, and we'll see if we can get your questions answered.